Have you noticed that many elderly people pass away suddenly after crossing the threshold of 75 years old, even though they still seemed hale and hearty in the previous years? The data reveals an astonishing truth. Nearly 99% of the deaths in this age group can be attributed to 5 core causes. Surprisingly, most of these diseases are not simply the products of aging, nor are they the inevitable fate of the life cycle as imagined by the world. There's a common misperception in the general cognition that as the body ages with the passage of time, it will inevitably move towards functional decline, with slow movement or a gradual decline. However, if I tell you that many of these health risks can actually be prevented and controlled in advance, the life decisions you are making right now are reshaping your future trajectory, and the initiative to rewrite the script of your life has always been firmly in your hands. This health lecture will deeply analyze the 5 life terminators for the elderly. Some of these diseases may be familiar to you, and some of the truths may astound you, but every factor is of utmost importance. It is recommended that you watch the whole video until the end, not only to acquire medical knowledge, but also to master simple and practical protection strategies that can be used immediately to safeguard your health autonomy and to maintain a clear mind and a strong body in the long river of time. Before getting to the main topic, a warm reminder: if the content inspires you, please kindly light up the little red heart to show your support. This will help spread the scientific concept of health and well-being. Friends who haven't followed yet are welcome to subscribe. Click the bell to turn on the update reminders so as not to miss the subsequent in-depth health analysis. If you like this video, please leave a message card. If you have any suggestions for improvements, please feel free to let us know. We will continue to optimize the content quality. Chapter 1. Focus on cardiovascular crisis. Heart diseases rank first among the causes of death for the elderly. What makes one think deeply is that the proportion of people who truly master the essence of prevention and control, or at least delay the progression of the disease, is astonishingly low. This important organ is essentially a muscle group tissue. Scientific maintenance can enhance its power, while neglecting management will gradually make it lose its vitality. Just like a limb that has been unused for a long time, the myocardium also follows the law of use it or lose it. The special thing is that the pathological process often shows an asymptomatic and progressive trend. Different from obvious symptoms such as joint pain, heart damage may accumulate quietly for several years, bearing the burden in silence until it suddenly collapses one day. And often there is no way to reverse the situation at that time. Most people interpret shortness of breath, fatigue, and slow movement as the normal state of aging. These are precisely the hidden and distress signals sent by the body, indicating that the heart is overloaded. Therefore, identifying these subtle signs has crucial early warning value. Natural aging is irreversible, but passive endurance of illness is not inevitable. The biggest threat to cardiovascular health comes from arterial hypertension, the hidden health assassin. It erodes the vascular involvement over the years, forcing the heart to pump blood overloaded, pushing the blood through the hard and narrowed vascular network. Imagine blood vessels as elastic hoses. Under continuous high-pressure impacts, the vessel walls gradually harden and crack, forming embolic lesions. There is no severe pain throughout the process, only silent and continuous organic damage. Lifeguard Guide, a breakthrough strategy for health risks in old age. It grows quietly in the long river of time, eventually leading to myocardial infarction or the sudden onset of cerebrovascular accidents. This is precisely the turning point where the trajectories of countless lives take a sharp turn. Close relatives and friends are plunged into confusion, hardly understanding the sudden change of fate. Daily diet plays a crucial role. Years of consuming fast food products, industrially processed meat, and high-sugar beverages are like chronic poisons eroding the vascular system, gradually weakening the heart function. This is not only the harm of excessive intake, but also the lack of essential nutrients. When dietary fiber, antioxidants, and high-quality lipids such as omega-3 are insufficiently ingested, the myocardium loses the nutrients it depends on. You might as well compare the heart to a precision engine. Long-term use of poor-quality fuel will inevitably accelerate its decline. If a diet lacking in nutrients is supplied for many years, the organ will eventually be overwhelmed. However, a diet rich in dark vegetables, nuts, and deep-sea fish is like injecting high-grade lubricant into the heart. Regarding the dimension of exercise, this is the inborn mission of the heart. When limb activities gradually come to a standstill, the body falls into a comprehensive slowdown. Muscle groups gradually atrophy, the efficiency of blood circulation decreases, and the myocardial contraction force continues to weaken. Fortunately, there is no need for high-intensity professional training. Moderate daily walking, home-based progressive resistance training, or sitting rehabilitation exercises are all effective. The core essence lies not in the intensity of exercise but in its continuous regularity. Maintaining myocardial activity can forge a strong blood-pumping function. The most vigilant cognitive misunderstanding is to attribute cardiovascular diseases to genetic fate, believing that if parents have heart problems, children will surely be doomed, and thinking that this is an inevitable path of aging. Such negative ideas are actually self-limiting. You should know that daily diet decisions, the formation of exercise habits, and stress management strategies are all reshaping the fate trajectory of the heart. Those seemingly small daily perseverances produce a compound interest effect far beyond expectations. Essentially, you are not passively accepting the passage of life, but actively writing a chapter of health. Every wise choice is the driving force for the continuous beating of the heart. If you have persisted in watching until now and agree with the value of the content, welcome to Leave a Message Health Guard to interact. Audience friends who haven't subscribed yet, please click to subscribe immediately and turn on the reminder function to ensure that you don't miss the subsequent in-depth analysis. Your support will help spread the scientific concept of health and well-being and build a high-quality old-age life together. Chapter 2. Balance, Crisis, and Accident Protection. When discussing the health threats to the elderly, the public often focuses on organic diseases but ignores more direct safety hazards. This type of risk is not a specific disease but the seemingly ordinary imbalance in fall. Imagine reaching for an item on a high place on tiptoes, crossing a slightly wrinkled carpet, or walking through a poorly lit corridor. In an instant, the center of gravity shifts, and the body crashes to the ground. This instant may permanently deprive one of the ability to act independently and the independence of life. An imbalance accident is by no means a funny episode. Severe complications such as femoral neck fractures and craniospinal injuries often become the turning points of the quality of life. The danger of such accidents lies in their suddenness, which may completely rewrite the life trajectory. Most people can hardly understand the fragility of the body until they experience it themselves. When the body comes into close contact with the ground, they suddenly realize the unexpected turn of fate. The warning value of statistical data cannot be ignored. Silver Age Protection Manual, a systematic prevention and control mechanism for imbalance accidents. The stable body falls rank among the top 3 causes of emergency hospitalization for the elderly. Each year, over 1 million elderly people are rushed to the hospital due to this, and nearly 30 of them need long-term hospitalization for observation. For most of the parties involved, this is not simply a physical injury but the starting symbol of the overall decline of the body's functions. Femoral neck fractures often lead to a bed rest period of several months. During this period, the risk factors for infectious complications, venous thrombosis, hypostatic pneumonia, etc., climb exponentially, and the right to independent living may be permanently lost. All these crises stem from a single accidental imbalance. What makes one think deeply is that nearly 80 of the elderly have a serious deviation in their perception of the risks in the home environment. They think that the familiar living space, which has carried decades of habitual movement routes, should be absolutely safe, but cognitive blind spots often breed hidden dangers. The furniture that has been placed for years and the daily walking paths may hide deadly threats, especially when the body undergoes progressive physiological changes. The risk factor doubles. The slow evolution of vital signs, the degeneration of vestibular function, the loss of muscle group strength, and the decrease in the speed of nerve reflexes are like boiling a frog in warm water. The crisis only becomes apparent when it really arrives. You may be used to moving freely in the kitchen or climbing stairs steadily, but a sudden turning movement or a small amount of liquid residue on the ground can instantly disrupt the balance system, and the body's repairability is no longer the same as in one's prime. A slight collision can cause compound injuries such as bone fractures and internal bleeding. accompanied by a functional rehabilitation period of up to a quarter. What is more worthy of attention is that even if there is no actual fall, a single thrilling experience of mere imbalance can trigger deep psychological stress. More than 40 of the experiencers will develop kinesiophobia, actively avoid using stairs, limit the scope of outdoor activities, and shrink the daily movement radius. Such defensive behaviors, on the contrary, exacerbate the degradation of physical functions, with continuous muscle strength attenuation and weak and balance controllability, forming a vicious cycle chain that gradually confines the dimension of life. Fortunately, a systematic intervention can effectively break the deadlock and transform defensive anxiety into active coping. Body imbalance is by no means an inevitable product of aging and can be significantly reduced through scientific programs. The first intervention strategy focuses on muscle group remodeling. Targeted training of the lower limbs and the core area is carried out, such as modified wall squats, progressive resistance leg lifting, combined with balance perception training, single foot support stability exercises, and slow motion and reels of Taiji cloud hand movements. Such micro-level exercise prescriptions can significantly increase the static and dynamic balance thresholds. The home environment renovation project is of great importance. Implement a 3-level lighting system. Lay environmentally friendly flooring materials with a qualified anti-slip coefficient. Establish barrier-free movement routes, and install ergonomic handrails at key nodes. Through the reconstruction of an age-appropriate space, transform the potential risk area into a safe fortress. These basic protective measures safeguard the last line of the quality of life. Pharmacological factors are often overlooked. About 30 of commonly used prescription drugs, including antihypertensive preparations, neurosedative drugs, and analgesic drugs, etc., may cause postural hypotension or vestibular nerve dysfunction. If there is transient amaurosis or dizziness during sudden postural changes, it is recommended to immediately start the drug evaluation process. Through dose gradient adjustment or alternative drug schemes, the risk of pharmacologically induced imbalance can be effectively avoided. The optimization of movement strategies is also crucial. Follow the 3-step action norm of slow start, perception, confirmation, steady movement to avoid hemodynamic fluctuations caused by sudden postural changes. The ultimate protection concept emphasizes the maintenance of the body's functional autonomy through a trinity protection system of strengthening the musculoskeletal system, intelligent environmental transformation, and pharmacological risk control. This is not a passive avoidance of crises, but an active empowerment of health, allowing every stage of life to retain dignity and freedom. If you agree with the value of this protection system, welcome to leave a message balance card to participate in the interaction. Unsubscribed users, please click to follow immediately and turn on the update reminder function. Your knowledge-based consumption will help us continuously output age-appropriate programs with clinical evidence-based value and jointly build a new paradigm of scientific elderly care. Respiratory Protection Plan, a complete guide to strengthening lung function in old age. The breath of life is originally a gift from nature. Ordinary people can freely inhale and exhale the essence of heaven and earth without conscious regulation. But when the years cross the threshold of 70, this instinctive action has quietly evolved into a survival test. The elasticity of the lung tissue decreases year by year, and the efficiency of the respiratory auxiliary muscle groups decreases. The body often experiences decline silently. Occasional dry coughs or mild shortness of breath are often misjudged as the normal state of aging. When the symptoms suddenly turn into persistent difficulty breathing, it is known that the health warning has long been sounded. Statistics show that respiratory diseases have ranked among the top causes of death for the elderly. This is not the fate of natural aging but stems from the long-term neglect of warning signals. The primary threat is identified as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD), which encompasses the pathological conditions emphysema and chronic bronchitis. In the former, the structure of the alveoli gradually disintegrates, while in the latter, there is persistent inflammatory swelling of the airways accompanied by mucus accumulation. The progressive degradation of respiratory efficiency often begins with the neglect of morning expiration or the rationalization of shortness of breath when climbing stairs. If the condition is left unchecked, it will eventually develop into persistent hypoxia, recurrent respiratory tract infections, and even lifelong dependence on respiratory assist devices. The second most deadly threat is pulmonary infection. Pneumonia can be fatal among the elderly. With the decline of the immune barrier with age and the weakening of the ciliary transport system function, a common cold can rapidly deteriorate into critical conditions such as acute respiratory distress, syndrome, and multiple organ failure. Clinical data shows that about 60% of elderly pneumonia patients will experience irreversible decline in physical functions. The chronic erosion of environmental toxins cannot be underestimated. Long-term exposure to urban smog, second-hand smoke, cooking fumes, and even the volatile substances in household cleaners can lead to continuous inflammatory damage to the bronchial tree. For those with underlying lung diseases, mold spores, pet dander, and chemical agents in aromatherapy may all trigger acute episodes. The three pillars of the protection system construction. 1. Air quality management. Configure HEPA grade purification devices. Establish a regular ventilation mechanism. Strictly control indoor PM to 0.5. And avoid environments with tobacco exposure. 2. Respiratory function training. Adopt the diaphragm activation breathing method, a stepped aerobic exercise program, and combine it with balloon blowing resistance training to systematically increase vital capacity. 3. Strengthening the immune barrier. Standardize the vaccination of pneumococcal vaccine, annual influenza vaccine, and COVID-19 booster immunization to build a multiple protection network. Special warning mechanism. A lung function test is required for a dry cough that lasts for more than 3 weeks. Immediately conduct imaging examinations if there is blood in the morning sputum. Be vigilant about concurrent heart and lung diseases in case of paroxysmal dyspnea at night. The quality of the breath of life directly determines the dignity of survival in old age. Through early intervention and continuous maintenance, it is entirely possible to extend the freedom of breathing to the end of life. If this protection plan inspires you, please leave a message: free breathing. Your interaction will help spread the scientific concept of lung protection. Unsubscribed users, please click to follow immediately and turn on intelligent push notifications to receive more age-appropriate health plans. Brain health defense system, systematic prevention and control of cerebrovascular accidents. Cerebrovascular emergencies are like a bolt from the blue, capable of rewriting the trajectory of life in an instant. One moment you may be chatting and laughing, and the next moment you may fall into a state of confusion, with limb disability or even in a life-threatening situation. Among the health threats to the elderly, such diseases rank first in causing death and disability. However, it is encouraging that about 80% of cerebrovascular accidents are preventable. The key defense code is hidden in daily health decisions. Analysis of the classification of cerebrovascular crises. 1. Ischemic stroke accounting for 87%. The detachment of atherosclerotic plaques or the migration of mural thrombi in the heart can trigger cerebrovascular embolism. 2. Hemorrhagic stroke accounting for 13%. Fragile blood vessels rupture under high-pressure impacts, forming an intracranial hematoma that compresses brain tissue. Regardless of the type, the limit of brain cells' tolerance to hypoxia is only for 6 minutes. The degree of damage depends on the area of the occluded blood vessel and the duration of ischemia. Construction of the risk early warning system. The primary threat comes from arterial hypertension, this hidden health assassin that erodes the vascular involvia over the years, gradually making the vascular system brittle and narrowed. Clinical data shows that 60% of first-time stroke patients only know that their blood pressure has been out of control for a long time when they are diagnosed. It is recommended to establish a blood pressure monitoring mechanism. Use a certified electronic blood pressure monitor at home. Measure the blood pressure 3 times a day at regular times, and track blood pressure parameters dynamically. The second hidden killer is atrial fibrillation. This common arrhythmia makes it easy for turbulent flow to form in the left atrial appendage, increasing the risk of thrombus detachment by 5 times. Patients may only feel palpitations or fatigue. Through 24-hour dynamic electrocardiogram monitoring combined with echocardiography, a timely diagnosis can be made and icogenic therapy can be initiated, reducing the risk of stroke by 68%. Crisis identification and emergency response. Master the FASD identification rule. F-face, unilateral facial drooping. I-arm, unilateral upper limb weakness. speech, slurred speech. Tea time, call the emergency number immediately. The golden emergency window is within 4.5 hours after the onset. Intravenous thrombolytic therapy can reduce the disability rate by 30. Preventive intervention plan. 1. Vascular maintenance projects. Control the daily dietary sodium intake to less than 1500 mg. Increase the intake of trace elements such as magnesium, potassium, and calcium, and maintain blood pressure in the ideal range of 120/80 Hg. 2. Blood flow optimization plan. Regularly carry out moderate intensity aerobic exercise, such as Tijuana and water or power bike training, with a cumulative 150 minutes per week. 3. Anticoagulant defense system. Use new oral anticoagulants for patients with atrial fibrillation. Regularly monitor coagulation function, and balance the risks of bleeding and thrombosis. Special protection suggestions. Establish a Sarbieverator and health record and conduct carotid artery ultrasound screening every year. Baseline assessment of cognitive function. Regularly monitor using the MOCA scale. Sleep respiratory monitoring to rule out obstructive sleep apnea syndrome. Brain health management is the ultimate safeguard of the quality of life. Through systematic risk control, it is entirely possible to transform the threat of stroke into a controllable factor. If this protection system inspires you, please leave a message Brain Health Guard. Your wise choice will help spread the scientific concept of brain protection. Unsubscribed users, please click to follow immediately and turn on update reminders to receive more brain science protection plans. Cognitive Defense Project Early Intervention System for Neurodegenerative Diseases. The degenerative changes in brain function are undoubtedly the most challenging physiological turning point in the life course. Core cognitive functions that support independent survival, such as memory storage efficiency, logical reasoning ability, and decision-making judgment mechanisms, show a progressive decline. The process of neurodegeneration is by no means a sudden event but begins with chronic damage to microscopic neural synaptic connections. In the initial stage, it is only manifested as transient spatial orientation deviations such as misplacing keys, semantic retrieval delays temporarily forgetting someone's name, and interruptions in the logical chain discontinuity and conversation thinking. These subtle cognitive biases are often misjudged as natural aging, but in fact, they indicate that the compensatory mechanism of the neurotransmitter system is approaching its limit. Clinical tracking data shows that 60% of patients with mild cognitive impairment MC and will progress to Alzheimer's disease AD or vascular dementia VD within 5-10 years. Such diseases not only erode the memory center but also systematically disintegrate the physiological regulation network. Basic survival skills such as independent eating, water metabolism balance, and management of chronic disease medications gradually become disabled. Typical risk event chain. Dehydration-induced delirium accelerates renal failure. Eating disorders led to nutritional and metabolic crises. Disruption of the circadian rhythm induces multiple complications. The most dangerous derivative risk of cognitive decline lies in the degradation of the ability to perceive environmental safety. Statistics from the clinical case database show that 38 of patients have records of not turning off gas equipment. 24 have experienced unconscious wandering at night. 15 have made mistakes in self-protective operations. These potential safety hazards often become the critical points for forced nursing intervention. Construction plan of the 3-level defense system. 1. Neuroplasticity activation plan. Implement dual task training calculating while walking. Strengthen the semantic network retelling daily news summaries. Activate episodic memory reconstructing the timeline of old photos. 2. Metabolic cognitive axis regulation. Implement the MIND eat dietary pattern berries, dark green leafy vegetables, fish. Maintain the serum concentration of vitamin and E3 choline ml. Regulate the gut microbiota, supplement prebiotics and postbiotics. 3. Digital neural monitoring system. Deploy intelligent pillboxes, medication records, and reminders. Install water molecule sensors monitoring the frequency of drinking water. Configure geofence warnings alarms for abnormal movements. Application of cutting-edge preventive technologies. APOE gene testing to guide personalized intervention. Monitoring the level of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF. transcranial magnetic stimulation (TMS), cognitive enhancement therapy. Cognitive health management is essentially the defense of the autonomy of life. Through early screening of biomarkers such as cerebrospinous fluid (CA), protein A40 to testing combined with multimodal cognitive training, it is entirely possible to delay the cognitive decline curve by 7 years. If this protection system inspires you, please leave a message. Cognitive Guardian. Your wise choice will help promote the popular science of brain health. Unsubscribed users, please click to follow immediately to obtain the latest neuroscience protection plans. Project for Safeguarding the Quality of Life, a winning guide to the health of the elderly and the evolution trajectory of cognitive function decline. There is a critical intervention window. The subtle signals in the initial stage are often misjudged as natural aging phenomena. Those temporary vocabulary retrieval disorders or item location deviations are actually early warnings issued by the neurosynaptic network. When obvious symptoms such as spatial and temporal orientation disorders or deep memory disruptions appear, a neurodegeneratively process often has entered an irreversible stage. The 4 pillars of constructing a scientific defense system. 1. Neuroplasticity training projects. Implement a cross-language learning plan such as mastering a new language. Carry out instrumental music playing therapy activating the linkage between the auditory and motor cortices. Design logical maze-solving schemes strengthening the executive function of the prefrontal lobe. Such cognitive load training can increase brain reserve capacity and enable the neural network to have stronger compensatory abilities. 2. Metabolic neural axis regulation. Adopt the Mediterranean DISH hybrid dietary pattern, with key intakes including deep-sea fish rich in free fatty acids, berries anthracene antioxidant matrix, dark green leafy vegetables complex of folic acid and vitamin K. Clinical studies have confirmed that this dietary structure can reduce the risk of cognitive decline by 53%. 3. Social neural activation mechanism. Regularly participate in multi-internal social activities. Stimulate the mirror neuron system through emotional resonance. Engaging in in-depth conversations more than 3 times a week can effectively maintain the activity of the language center and slow down the rate of semantic memory decline. 4. Motor nerve remodeling plan. Conduct 30 minutes of rhythmic exercise every day such as Taji cloud hands or water ballet, which can promote the secretion of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF, and the number of new neurons in the hippocampus can increase by 200. Monitoring indicators of the quality of life. Stability of the circadian rhythm tracked through wearable devices. Water metabolism curve recorded by an intelligent water cup. Balance of nutrient intake monitored by a dietary analysis APP. Ultimate health inspiration. The 5 major health threats: cardiovascular crisis, balance, accidents, respiratory system diseases, SARBIS, Virachan events, cognitive decline, are not the inevitable fate of the life cycle. Through daily small but continuous health decisions, it is entirely possible to reconstruct the trajectory of aging. If this series of health plans inspires you, please leave a message. Safeguard the quality of life. Every wise choice you make is rewriting a healthier future. Unsubscribed users, please click to follow immediately to obtain the latest age-appropriate health solutions.